What is the basic unit in our psychology? How does it change? Today we'll talk about meme, SYME, and mega fantasy. Hi. When we say the word meme, we usually mean a picture or a video that becomes very popular, becomes viral, and is spreading very rapidly in the net. Actually, meme is a term in evolution invented by the honorable biologist Richard Dawkins in his seminal work The Selfish Gene from 1976. Dawkins is explaining the spread of ideas and cultural phenomena like melodies, fashion, and even technology. So in the same way a gene is the basic unit in biology, Dawkins is suggesting that a meme is the basic unit in society and culture. What I would like to do today is to coin a new term in the evolution of our psychology. And this idea is a SYME, PSY. Like we have a gene in biology, a meme in sociology, we have a SYME in psychology, the basic unit of our psyche. There are many examples for SYMEs, like inner conflict, fantasy, defense mechanisms, the borders of our individuality and self, and many, many more. Today I would like to focus on fantasy because it's very clear to understand this concept through that. Not any fantasy, but the egoistic, untamed, infinite fantasy, which I called in past conversations mega fantasy, appearing with the leaders of the Neolithic era. The reason I call this a mega fantasy, maybe there are two reasons. The first is that it's cool to say mega fantasy, like some manga or anime character. But the second comes from, again, evolution and biology, regarding megafauna. Megafauna were very big animals in different areas of the world. And with climatic change, and in the minute people are appearing in those habitats, the megafauna disappear. Because as humans, we arrive, we see the animals that are very easy to catch and eat, and they become extinct very rapidly. So that's why I chose the name mega fantasy, because we are talking about an unprecedented fantasy in human evolution. Now let's give examples for mega fantasy today. Many children want to be successful like Leo Messi, like Cristiano Ronaldo. Many of us want to be creative and successful like Elon Musk or Steve Jobs, to have the money that Bill Gates earned, to create art like Jay-Z, like Beyonce, or like whoever you like. But have these untamed, unlimited, extreme fantasies about our lives. Now, this was not always the case. If we go back in time, we can see some very important historical figures with very big mega fantasies. A good example is Alexander the Great, Alexander of Macedonia, a young king educated by Aristotle, no other, who at the age of 30 becomes the ruler of the whole known world, from east to west. I have a quote by him. Alexander is saying, "Heavens cannot brook two sons, nor earth two masters." He sees himself as the master of earth. But he's not the first one to have this mega fantasy. If we go back in time, we can see Cyrus of Persia, the Achaemenid Empire, at the 6th century BC. Cyrus also becomes the ruler of the whole known world. And he says, "I am Cyrus, king of 4 corners of the world. Even if the skies were shorter than my knees, I would not kneel." Cyrus really sees himself in a mega fantastic way. But even before him, we have the earliest written evidence of mega fantasy comes from Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, in the 7th century BC. Nebuchadnezzar lived a long life and ruled all over the known world. Nebuchadnezzar writes, "A house have I made. May its greatness advance from the west to the east by the rising sun." He is ruling the whole known world. Mega fantasy indeed. Now, if we go further back, before the invention of writing, we are seeing warfare and conquest in the past 10,000 years, with permanent settlements after the agrarian and the Neolithic revolution. We have accumulation of food, we have nation states, and we start to see wars, stratifications, and organized warfare. I called this the appearance of the first Adon. We know that we have mega fantasy in their thoughts there. But what about earlier times? If we go further back in the evolution of our fantasy, we find very interesting things. We see that throughout our Homo sapien evolution, in the past 100,000 years, we have specific social roles in our societies and cultures. Maybe there were shamans, maybe there were medicine women, maybe there were chiefs or hunters. We know that we had special relationships with them and special respect and love in the way we bury them. We bury our dead for more than 100,000 years. Neanderthals buried their dead, and we have a very famous special Neanderthal graves with many pollens of flowers, more than 8 kinds of flowers. We can only imagine the Neanderthal ceremony with people bringing flowers from all around. It's very heart-touching. But coming to Homo sapiens 80 and 70,000 years ago, what we are seeing is unique burials of certain individuals. A very famous one contains thousands and thousands of beads made from stones and shells, probably made by the whole clan during a lifetime or maybe even decades of people working. So this person was very special for the people around him. Closer to our times, we see burials 30,000 years ago, 20,000 years ago, some of them with many turtle shells or with many other unique pieces from our environments. These are unique people with unique special roles in our environments. And the most interesting things about these burials is that there is something modest about them. It is clear that this person had a special and a unique role in our societies, but he was not above the others. It seems that he was loved by the others. Those were egalitarian societies. We had social structures helping us to repress the conflict between the individual and the collective. We had many norms, taboos, totems, ceremonies, epos, myth that contained us and held these societies together for millions of years. So we needed these special social roles, but they were contained, they were measured, they were tamed. And we had fantasy. We had fantasy in art, in rituals, in epos, in myth, in the stars, in the ground. We had fantasy everywhere. This fantasy is tamed, is controlled by our societies and cultures up until the Neolithic, up until the first Adon, where this fantasy is evolving, a new structure and content appears, and for the first time the mega fantasy is crystallized. Of course, the idea sparked in the minds of people and children, but it was repressed immediately. With the first Adon, it is not repressed. This is a new SYME, a new basic unit in psychology, a new construct and content. It was never dwelled and thought before. Like a eureka of knowledge, this is an innovation of a psychological evolution. And unfortunately, it was found very fit to the environments in which it existed, and it exists until today. Therefore, it became very prominent in the lives of the Adons and in the lives of all of humanity. We can see this change, for example, in the way we bury our dead. The way the Adon is buried is changed completely in an unprecedented manner. You can see these remarkable pictures. So today I tried to illustrate the most basic unit of our psyche, the SYME. A construct, a content that is evolving and changing continuously, sometimes gradually and sometimes in huge leaps. Now, I've focused on fantasy today, but there are many, many themes, and I'll review them in future conversations. What was important for me today is to show the remarkable way these leaps and changes can happen in a very dramatic manner and in a very short time. The same way it happened in the past can happen in the very near future. Many of these ideas are ripe for the picking. The thoughts are seeking a thinker. They need to be crystallized in each and every one of us as individuals and in one of us as a collective. A new idea, a new manifest, a new shelf of books can take humanity in a completely unimaginable new way, with a new theme evolving, appearing, and changing the gestalt and the way we are living. So this field of psychological evolution is very optimistic regarding our individual lives and even more so our collective lives and the paths we can choose to take in the future. We'll end here today and continue to look into these fields in coming conversations. Thank you very much for watching. Please comment, let's be together, make sure to subscribe. And this term, theme, is new to the world. Let's wish it bon voyage. We'll meet next time.